Coming up next on the Santita Jackson Show is our Say What segment.
Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Do pastors need street credibility? Oh boy, I wish I had an audience in here today. And if you look at the number on your screen, call us because you can be a part of the Santita Jackson Show in studio. We can't wait to have you. But in the meantime, let's talk about these pastors and street credibility. Is that what they need today? Attorney Linda Bernard, one of our nation's premier family and civil rights lawyers. Oh, look at this rosy rose in the midst of all of these roses. Ed Foxworth. We've seen him on CBS here in Detroit, but he is a media personality, and we can't wait to have you back on the show. I'm inviting you back in advance. And this is my colleague, Angela McGlowan from Fox News, but she is also a best-selling author of the book Bamboozled. Everybody's got to read it. See, I didn't crack.
No, you didn't. You
Yeah.
didn't. Well, you didn't say the whole title, though, but that's okay.
No.
Because you were cracking on that one.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Talk to me. Street credibility. Number one, let's define it. Who wants to define it? The lawyer who tries to keep people out of jail, or do you put people in jail?
Well, street credibility simply means that your audience believes you, that your audience can identify with you, and that your audience will allow you, to interact with them in a meaningful way where both people can make progress in terms of communication.
But this article that I was reading, Ed, talked specifically about street credibility, and we know we know what that means.
Yeah,
right.
but
talk to me.
The truth of the matter is, in a lot of our communities, unfortunately, we have gravitated to a point where pastors don't have as much street cred as they used to.
What does that mean?
Well, you want to be honest about it?
Yeah,
the title that many of them have in the urban community are pimps in the pulpit. They don't necessarily have the ability as much, not all. Some don't have the ability to connect with the people in the way that they are living. You have some pastors driving Bentleys and, having more, money and big houses and lifestyles than
the community's starving.
Than their community or the congregation has, and it begins to be a problem.
But I believe
they wave to their parishioners at the bus stop. Hi, I'm Reverend so-and-so, and all of their parishioners are at the bus stop as they go through in their Bentley or Rolls. Right. You're right about that.
Yeah.
But what's going on in our community, for by any means necessary, and Hillary Clinton said it takes a village to raise a child.
Well, the Africans said it first.
Oh, thank you for educating me.
Girl, I'm having fun with you. Yeah, that's true.
But with black-on-black crime, I think it takes all of us together. And I can see what you're saying, dealing with ministers doing so well, but it takes their flock actually to pay tithes for the minister to do well, and we want our leaders to do well.
Sure.
But I think it takes all of us coming together. And as for true pastors, now you do have some jackleg ministers, but true pastors, they know about the full armor of God. And this is not a war of flesh and blood. This is a spiritual battle.
Yes, it is.
And the only way that we can achieve what we need to achieve is by the word. And who knows the word better than a true pastor?
But I'm going to tell you something. What concerns me about this, about street credibility, and I think you need it, is my mother, who's in the audience today. She just had her birthday.
Right.
Yay.
Mrs. J.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you. Ooh, cha-cha. But my mother's always talked about being very careful, not to pull God down to you, but to rise up to Him. And we're in a culture now that glorifies a lot of the more painful aspects of street life. I don't object to street life because you know what? It takes all kinds and all ways to make it through this world. But I'm wondering if we're secularizing our pastors now. Or are we, or do they need to be able to, because many of the pastors, you can't reach them now, unfortunately. Do they go pick you up out of jail like we used to do? And,
Santita,
and do they really understand street life? Or, because, look, a lot of our culture, let's be honest, is being driven by drug money, right? Do they really understand?
But what did Jesus do? He went out into the streets. He went out to seek people to be able to bring them to Him. And I understand what your mom is saying, don't bring God down to you, but sometimes we need to rise up to Him, but we need to go out to be able to spread the word and bring people closer to God.
Now you bring up a profound point, Ed. Linda, I want you to jump in. We got to jump to the guy.
Well, I
got to jump to Ed real quick. Because Jesus had street credibility.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Well, the ministry is also an economic proposition. As you know, Detroit has one of the highest crime rate right now in the nation, and there is a church in Detroit on almost every corner. There are more than 7,000 of them, so there are lots of ministers. I mean,
7,000 churches.
you can always find beer, wine, lotto, church. I mean, that's the way it is.
3,000.
Right, 3,000, right. More than 3,000 churches in the city of Detroit, but yet we have these problems, so that outreach that you're talking about is not happening. But what you need to understand is that a church is an ecclesiastical corporation under the law. It means that everything that's brought in is tax-free. That building is tax-free, and the parsonage that the minister has is tax-free.
Yes, ma'am.
And generally, the people who are the parishioners pay for the parsonage, which can be in Bloomfield Hills. They also pay all the insurance on that parsonage. They pay all the car insurance for that pastor. I mean, this is a very significant economic proposition, and by which you can become not wealthy, quite frankly, very quickly, because if all of your money is tax-free and everything that you have
You
is
will
paid
know
for.
them by
isn't
their
that-
fruits. You will know them by their fruits. So if you are part of a church and you're not getting fed and what you need,
that's the real issue,
That's the
right?
real issue, because if the pastor's doing well, waving at the people in the inner city, you know, at the bus stop while they're driving a Bentley, then I fault the congregation for not putting tabs on the pastor.
But
It doesn't happen that way.
you know, well, Ed, you chime in, because I'm concerned. You know, pastors, they will do well. Traditionally, they do. But what concerns me is this. We shun. I've been to some churches where if you don't dress a certain way, if you don't have a certain
That's
pedigree, you cannot get in. And I get it, but it's not right.
Yeah.
And we are rejecting a lot of people who need the word the most.
Well, we got to find out what we're after when we ask the question, do pastors have street cred? I think, quite honestly, they do have street credibility with those who attend church. There is a significant population that is not in the church, and we've got to address that in some ways. What's happening in the United States of America right now is that we have a growing wealth gap. And you have the haves and the have-nots. And those have-nots are suffering from illiteracy, from poverty, from all kinds of different social ills. And I would hope that the street cred that we're talking about means that the pastors who are doing what they should be doing and what we expect for them to be doing are paying close attention to what's happening in the community and begin to find outreach programs that address those kinds of issues. And
so
sometimes
they do need street cred.
well,
you're
yes,
saying.
because I think what we often see is that they like to bring them into the church. And some people will prefer, let me take this one step at a time and have you come out to me first. And I think the outreach programs need to be increased.
But 75% of any church on Sunday is female, let's face it. And the other 25% are mostly senior citizens or people that are almost senior citizens. They're, in terms of, those aren't, quote, street people. I mean, and women start going to church a lot when they get about 30, and sometimes a little younger, but then they really start. So, I mean, you've got to look at the population. I mean, in some ministries and so forth, there's, quote, a youth ministry, and I think that's helpful. But, I mean, but the reality of the situation is that the people who give money, the people who come on Sunday, are not really the people that you're trying to reach from a street
Well,
side.
you know, but
So
please
from
pick
an
up on that.
advocacy outreach standpoint in the different ministries in the church, you do have to go out there and bring people in.
Yes.
And a good church, a good pastor, and the elders in the church, you can create programs that can go out there. Why can't you have it all? Why can't you have a prosperous church, people who give money in the church, but when you give, you need to go out and give more than just money. You need to give of your time.
Well, because what concerns me is I've heard Reverend Willie Barrow, you know, the little warrior, whose ministry is out in the, well, it's, all of our ministry should be out in the world,
Yes.
right? But what she said, the church in the 21st century has no walls. And you have to go out to where
Very nice.
people are. You know,
I
you have
like
to
that.
go
I
out
do
to
too.
where,
That's wonderful.
Yes.
go out to where people are. I mean, because you made the point that Jesus went out there. We don't know, we don't have a physical structure, but Jesus is everywhere. He is more powerful today than he was 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what can we do today to make that happen? Because, you know, when the kids come in who don't want to be bothered with church, we can't continue to push them away. Or people who are struggling with addiction issues. You have people who are HIV positive and whatnot who don't even want to talk about that in church. And by the way, that is growing, I found out, with people who have less money, and everybody has less money today.
Yes.
Right.
Santita, the challenge is creating partnerships, and with the church being tax exempt, then we have this big thing dealing with separation of church and state. Like I said in the beginning, it takes a village to raise a child. So we have to create these partnerships because we all have ministries, whether we're on television or CEO of a company, and we all have churches. We need to partner churches with community organizations, corporations to help save these children.
So going forward, what should we do? Street credibility. How can we help our ministers help the people? I mean, what can we do? Because when these people come into the church, and we all need church more than we care to admit, what can we do to make room for everybody and to encourage our pastors to get out there?
Well, one thing we can't have churches where you have to dress a certain way and look a certain way to be a part of it. That's not right. That you have to be a certain type of way to be able to come to the church, into the house of God.
That's good.
People need to accept people for who they are and not make them feel bad. That's the reason why a lot of people who are in poverty don't want to go to the church.
Yeah, I would think ministry doesn't always mean that I have to invoke God. I think if you go to a community center and you've got a whole center filled with people, whether they're older or younger, that you've got to be able just to share the right path, the right way. Come meet with me, come talk with me, and have the open-ended approach. Pastors are teachers, and they really need, I think, to share that gift in a non-secular way.
Okay, attorney.
I think you have to invest more in a youth ministry. I mean, people identify with their peers. I mean, my nephews and so forth try to escape me because they think I'm too old to understand what they're talking about, for example. But I think if you involve younger people in a youth ministry, particularly in churches, and try to make that strong, and the churches that are strong in that regard, I think will prosper because they communicate with each other. It's like word. You know, word to them it means different than the word network.
That was rich.
Right. I mean, you know,
that was
you know, and I just, you know, like there's no such thing as a homie anymore. It's homes. You know, when I see us homes, you know, it's homes. I mean, it is what it is. And so there's a different way of communicating.
She's got street cred.
Try hard. But it's a different way of communicating, and they have a different value system. Money is very, very important.
Yes.
Obviously, sex is very important. Being sexy, being, you know, the man, you know, and all that sort of stuff means something different now than it used to in the old days. So, I mean, it's a paradigm shift. And so how do you grasp that? And I think you have to, like anything else, men can't talk for women. We have to listen to young people. You know, the best ideas percolate up. They don't trickle down from us wise folks. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, the great soil that I know is from our elders, the wisdom. We need to bring everybody together. And you know, you got to go out into the world. Go out into the world. That's what the word is for. It was not just for you and me, it's for everybody. So street credibility, yes, you need it. You ought to be able to reach everybody who needs the word, and we all do. We'll be back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a moment.
Being your best self.
Ooh, dating while separated. Should you do it? You know, okay, I watch the Kardashians from time to time. Yes, I do. It helps me to stay up with the popular culture. I enjoy it. What can I say? There was a very interesting episode in which we saw one of the characters who has wanted a relationship. We saw her in one and we cheered her on. And then we found out there was a complication. She was dating a man who was separated. And it did end in heartbreak. Let's talk about that with Davon Darby, law student. Yay, she's about to go into exams. We're so proud of you. Mary Sheffield, we've got the young people on the panel today. The executive director of First Steps. You mentor young ladies and young girls. That's a wonderful thing to do. We need so much of that. And Sylvia Ewing, well, we're bringing her from behind the camera today. She is my producer, but indeed, she is one, you're really the face and voice of public television in Chicago, Illinois, and all around the country. And she is a documentarian. She does so much, but she keeps us in line, and so she's trying to direct and be a guest today. But she's also an author, and we can't wait to have you back on the show to talk about your book, which is...
Girlfriend, Comfort and Joy, Stories of Hope, Meditation situations for happiness.
But this almost made you go apoplectic. You
Well,
almost went crazy
you know,
when I brought this topic to you. Why?
Well, I think that when you come to the question of whether or not you would date someone who's separated, to me, it really matters if there are children involved. When you are breaking up from a serious relationship, when you're coming out of a marriage, and I'm engaged now, been married, and I'm a mother. But whatever relationship you've been in, you need time to heal yourself. And the reality check for me is that whomever you're dating in the first days, the first months after a marriage, is really someone who is walking on thin ice because you're not yet together.
And you know, you don't walk on thin ice, you fall through it.
Well, but yes, you do.
It's that you know, because you know, really, Sylvia, we have got 2 young people on. And you know, the Kardashians, it is really a young person's show. And I know, and I had to watch it because I want to know, because I'm a generation removed from you guys. I am, and I'm not afraid to say it.
And I'm too, but that's another story.
Not really. Okay. Well, she became a grandmother, so she's in a whole different zone. You can't tell. But when you're talking to young people, when we were talking in the green room, Sylvia, I said, Mary, let's talk about this topic. And she said, okay, what do you mean? Is he divorced? Or I said separated. Well, wait a minute. She was splitting hairs. I said, wait a minute. Separated means you feel that you found the one and it's not working right now.
Right.
So now why were you splitting hairs on me?
No, because I mean, you have certain situations where it could be you may meet a man who is legally married and separated, or who is legally separated, who has filed for divorce. But in my situation, I just feel that, you know, I don't want any of that, any of the drama. Most of the time, it's a lot of drama involved with marriages.
So what do you mean by that?
I mean, like you said, kids, you have a man who's in and out of the house. Is he staying with the wife still? Has he moved out of the house? Is it children involved? Finances are involved a lot of times with marriages and separation. So for me, I would rather just be with a guy who is divorced, legally divorced, and has moved on and has time. Emotionally has had time to heal.
Oh,
right.
Davon?
Yeah.
Oh, now Davon is like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well, no, I mean,
see, people don't identify on Facebook too.
Yeah.
See, because that's your generation also, Davon.
Yeah, but I agree with Mary, and I also agree with Sylvia. I would not do that. You're separated. Hey, figure that out. Then maybe come talk to me, you know, once you're divorced. Because while you're separated, you might file for divorce, but then you all might work something out. You might file for divorce, and the wife or ex-wife might be full of drama, and then she's taking that out on me because we're emotional creatures, and I don't need or want your silly drama. So,
well, not just silly drama. I mean, because it takes
silly
a lot.
And unnecessary. Yeah.
Well, you know, it takes let's be fair to the married couple, because you know it takes a lot to get down the aisle, which I have not done yet. I will. I'm going to do that, but it is a lot to get married, right? And you're about to get married, right? And so that said, let's be fair. We have all kinds of problems in relationships, and people separate. Even if they don't say they're separated, you can just be in the same room and not be together.
But you know, if you're separated, that's fine. You know, be in the same room, not be together. I think that you should not bring me into that situation, and if I'm married, I think I shouldn't bring you into that situation,
But
because
let me say this to you.
Figure that out.
I say this as the elder. You shouldn't. He or she can't just bring you. You should not go.
I should not go.
You
should invite me,
no,
and I should
but
not
I think
come. I should not take that
today
invitation.
we need to, because you know what? They've made a decision.
Right.
And you are making one
Absolutely.
too. You know, we're not being honest about our responsibility.
true.
We act like, you know, these married people are taking a
A lot
lasso and they're just
of
pulling
times
us
they're
in.
open and
Definitely
honest
be
about it.
responsible.
You know, a lot of times they're open and honest
Yeah.
about it, and it's our decision if we want
That's
to enter
true.
into that.
Well, and I think there are ground rules. So there's a reality. Sometimes things don't work out. You have to move on. But how do you do it in a healthy way? One of the healthy ways is understanding you can't be in a situation like I heard of a friend in New York. I'm so in love with him. He, you know, just got separated 3 months ago, but I know our future is together.
You've got an 18-month window.
You know,
talk about
within
that.
the first 18 months, it's disposable relationships. I'm just being honest because, you know, that's why I'm a producer. I'm going to be very clear and frank.
She's done the research.
It is, you're emotional. Perhaps someone will help you go to the next step. Maybe they'll be that person that helps you rediscover yourself. But for a real lasting relationship, Very unlikely, 90-something%.
Why do you think that is?
Because you still haven't worked out your issues. Perhaps you are on the rebound. You go to someone who's absolutely the opposite of what you had when perhaps you need the middle. And so how do you do it with children? They don't meet whoever you date. If you are a parent and you are separated and you have children, you do your grown folk stuff, and your children don't need to be engaged in that because they don't need a constant flow of Aunt Sylvia and Uncle Charlie, you know, coming through. Yeah, I said it.
No, Mary, because you've got to talk to and you talk to these young people, and like I said, I'm referencing a young person show,
right?
And there was no adult in that show who checked this girl and said, "Hey, he's married. Just keep on walking."
Right, and I think, you know,
Sylvia should have been there.
Right, for me, like Devon and I, we're in our 20s, we're in our early 20s. So why would we even
so are
enter?
We're in our late 20s.
Times 2, but for some of us,
okay.
For us, I mean, you know, younger women, I just don't see myself entering into something with that much baggage. You know, why would I get involved with someone who is separated? You know, it's too many other men out here who are single.
Go girl.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
because you know, many of the young ladies today, particularly young black women, are saying we've got so many men in jail. There's a man deficit. So this is just, I'm doing what I have to do. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, I hear that all the time, and sometimes I do believe that when I'm out and I meet men, like, wow, we're all the good men. But I believe that, you know, you have to put in the air or speak with, you know, positivity. So I don't put that into the universe, I should say. You know, I try to say there is good men out here. There are good men available. So I just really don't want to settle.
They're good men who can be made.
Yeah.
That's what my mother told me. My mother told my brothers, it's my responsibility to get you here. Your wife is supposed to make you a man. Because I'm a homemaker, not a homebreaker. I don't believe in...
Bam, I like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, because either you love somebody and you bring, everybody's all in, or, you know, you don't
But
cherry
you're
pick.
mature and you're ready for that. Davon isn't. You know, it's, I mean...
No. I don't want Davon or Mary to even touch that.
In the age
I'm not going to do it.
But I think if you're separated, that's fine. I think that you should take that. I don't care how old you are now, really. I think that you should take that and try to figure that out, whether that's reconciliation or whether or not that really is divorce. And then if it is divorce, then, you know, be responsible to yourself and responsible to another person's feelings, and then perhaps bring them in. But don't bring me in while the wife is texting you.
But don't
you're
go.
unsure.
But see, they might try to bring you in.
Right.
I guess
don't
my
go.
point
That
is,
is the point.
don't
We should
go.
not go. I'm not going.
Just don't
But
go.
to all the other people out there that are watching
know,
the show, don't go.
Let's you know, because, you know, we are magnets. Stop being magnetized by your lower self, your lesser angel, because that's on you. And I want us to take responsibility.
Listen to your higher voice.
And the Bible tells you to guard
break
your
up somebody's
heart.
house.
You need to guard your heart. Take care of yourself.
And heal yourself.
Heal yourself.
Figure out how you got
That's
here
right.
in the first place.
That's right.
Don't use people as a rebound at all.
Ouch. We're back with closing thoughts in just a moment.
Here's Santita's up close with a one-on-one interview.
Welcome back. We've got a special one-on-one interview with attorney Linda Bernard. She is really one of the country's foremost civil rights and family lawyers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Now, you know, oftentimes on this show, well, all the time on this show, we really try to have a moral perspective, a church perspective, if you will, on today's issues, and particularly on marriage. We've talked about that a lot today on marriage and relationships. You have a legal perspective.
That's
and when
correct.
you were here a few weeks ago, you talked about 187 laws that govern marriage. Can the twain meet? Can church and state come together when it comes to marriage?
Well, I'm not sure because marriage is a legal contract. There are 187 laws that govern marriage in the United States. It's the most protected classification there is. And as a matter of fact, you can discriminate based on marriage. For example, if you go to the health club to get a membership, you get a single membership. But if your husband was a member, then you get a much reduced rate. You get reduced rates in hotels. You get reduced rates on everything. I mean, so marriage has both a commercial significance as well as a personal significance.
Well, let me ask you this. Now that you're giving me all of this, because when we think about getting married, we don't think about the 187 laws and all of that.
Yeah, your tax return and everything else.
Well, when we talk about marriage, we go to the minister. I know my father's a minister, as you well know. He will not marry you unless he can counsel you beforehand. Do you think it would be fitting for us to go to a lawyer before we get married, or is that too much?
Well, many people do now, particularly for prenups, and even after the marriage for what they call antenups, in order to set the record straight regarding your property and your business interests and your income. I mean, it simply is what it is.
But Linda, aren't you supposed to grow together? Help me.
You know, it's interesting. You know, people always try to base their marriage on love, and I think love is important, but I don't think it's the most important thing in a relationship or in a marriage.
Really?
I think the most important thing is respect. Because I can kill you and say, well, I love you. You know, I can stab you 25 times and I love you and then I regret it. Love is different. I mean, love makes people emotional and irrational and all that. But respect is actually, to me, more important than love. Because if I respect you, then I won't do things to hurt you or to damage you in any way,
But
emotionally
doesn't the Bible
or any
tell
kind
us
of way.
that too?
Well, the Bible says that, and I agree with that. But I'm just saying that in terms of the balance in the relationship, I'd weigh in on the respect more than the love, because love is passionate and love is erratic, and love can be extraordinarily irrational, as we know. So
No, I don't. You know, I disagree. I have to say,
I know you do.
Well, because I think love is God, and God is the ultimate scientist. He is the most rational being in the universe. The devil is the author of confusion. All the stuff that you've talked about is the devil. That's just confusion. I mean, so how can the law work for us who want to abide by God's word? I mean, how do you do that?
it starts with respect. And as I said earlier, I think not the passion associated with love, but marriage is a business proposition. It just is. It's a great partnership, and it's one that you can. It's a fact that married people are more successful than single people. They go higher in corporate jobs and in general, and so it's a very important sort of thing. But what you see now in marriage more than anything, I think, are these strategic partnerships, which are based in large measure on respect, caring, kindness. There are a lot of emotions, but I'm not sure that it's love. Yeah. So therefore, don't make the promise in the first place. I can make.
You are successfully single. Last word, but when we come, I want you to come back and talk about this.
Okay, all right.
Really? Oh, today we have talked about a lot of things. We've talked about really issues of intimacy. What should you date while you're separated? Really, I don't think that you should. Because really, how can you be intimate with someone who is double-minded? It's impossible. Someone's heart really is someplace else. So why don't we just work on coming together? Street credibility, pastors need it. You know, we all need to get whole. What did Marvin Gaye say? We need to be holy, holy. And Linda, I think that's the point today. Let's come together. Let's bring ourselves together so that we can bring our best selves to our relationships, to our communities, and to God. We owe him that much. I can't wait to see you on the Santita Jackson Show next week. Please call us on the number that you see on the screen, because we want an in-studio audience that consists of more than my mother today. Happy birthday, Mama. I love you so much. Oh my goodness, I love my mother with all of my heart and soul and all of my might. And I thank God for giving me you as my gift. God bless you, everybody. See you next week.
If you have a question, an idea for a show topic, or just want to leave a comment, log on to Facebook and visit the Santita Jackson fan page. And don't forget to follow her on Twitter at SantitaJ. Thanks for watching this edition of the Santita Jackson Show.